I don't really want to take up too much time, so I'll just say thank you to everyone. Thank you to my team. Thank you to the ball kids. Thank you to the organizers and all the volunteers. And I hope you guys had a good night.
You saw that, right? No congratulations. No mention of the 18-year-old who had just beaten her. For most sports, that might be nothing. But in tennis, a game built on tradition, etiquette, and respect, it's the kind of omission that can set the internet on fire. And it did. Within minutes, this moment was everywhere. Twitter threads, Instagram posts, TikTok edits, all asking the same question. Why didn't she say it? Was it frustration? Was it intentional? Or was it just a mistake in the heat of the moment? To understand why this tiny detail became the biggest tennis controversy of the week, you need to see the whole story. And trust me, the match was only the beginning.
For Victoria Moko, this wasn't just a tennis match. This was the culmination of everything she had worked for since she first picked up a racket at age 6. She had grown up watching Naomi Osaka on TV, winning Grand Slams, dominating the tour, making history as the first Asian player to reach world #1. Moko didn't just like her game, she studied it. She knew Osaka's patterns, her mental strength, even her on-court mannerisms. And now, at 18, she was standing across the net from her hero. The odds? Completely against her. Sportsbooks didn't give her much of a chance. Commentators were already predicting a straight-set Osaka win. And in the beginning, that seemed accurate. Osaka came out firing. First set, 6-2. Her forehand was cracking like thunder. Her movement looked sharp, and she controlled every rally. But in the second set, something shifted. Moko started stepping inside the baseline, taking Osaka's pace and sending it right back at her. She broke serve early, held under pressure, and took the set 6-4. The crowd began sensing something historic. By the third set, the energy in the stadium had flipped. Moko was in full flow, fearless, hitting corners, and reading Osaka's game like a book. When the final point landed, it was 6-1. Game, set, match. Victoria Moko, the upset of the tournament. Maybe the upset of the year. Fans were on their feet, chanting her name. She smiled, overwhelmed, soaking in a moment she'd dreamed about for over a decade. But in a heartbeat, the spotlight shifted, and not in her favor. What happened next would ignite a firestorm. Tennis is a sport built on traditions, and one of the most sacred is the post-match speech. Win or lose, you congratulate your opponent first. It's not optional. It's the unspoken code of respect. When Naomi Osaka stepped up to the microphone, everyone expected her to open with something like, "Congratulations to Victoria, she played an amazing match." But that didn't happen. Instead, she went straight to thanking her team, the fans, the organizers, the ball kids, and then she wrapped it up. No mention of Moko. Not even a passing nod. For casual viewers, it might have seemed like nothing. But to tennis fans, it was glaring. Especially since Moko had openly called Osaka her idol and credited her with inspiring her career. It was the kind of moment where you could almost feel the energy in the crowd shift from celebration to confusion. And if you think that was awkward, wait until you hear what happened next. Because the internet was just getting started. The clip of Osaka's speech hit the internet within minutes, and it blew up. Twitter was the first battleground. Cold, absolutely no class from Osaka. You don't do that to a kid who just beat you. Lost a fan today. On Instagram, sports pages reposted the clip with captions like, "Awkward," and "Did you notice what was missing?" The comments poured in. Tens of thousands of them, most siding with Moko. TikTok turned it into a trend, with users overlaying the speech clip with dramatic music, pointing out the missing congratulations, and racking up millions of views. Some fans even went further, digging up old footage of Osaka's past post-match speeches to prove this wasn't the first time she'd been less than gracious in defeat. Whether fair or not, the narrative had taken hold, and, as with any internet storm, the criticism snowballed. Some of it stayed about tennis, some of it got personal. Too personal. Victoria Moko, meanwhile, stayed quiet. She celebrated her win, but avoided engaging in the drama. Yet despite her silence, her name was attached to the growing controversy. But here's where it takes a turn, because someone very important was about to speak up. Just as the backlash looked like it might consume Osaka's image, a legendary figure stepped into the conversation, Rick Maxey. If you follow tennis, you know Maxey's resume. Coach to Serena and Venus Williams, Maria Sharapova, Andy Roddick. The man knows champions. Maxey didn't just defend Osaka, he went after her critics. He pointed out that in other sports, like the NBA or NFL, post-loss interviews are often curt, emotional, even confrontational. It's normal. So why, he asked, does tennis act like skipping one sentence is a scandal? She's human, he said. You can't judge a player's whole career by 1 minute after a loss. I've seen players cry. I've seen them smash rackets. And they were still champions. His defense added fuel to a new debate. Was this really a lack of sportsmanship or just the heat of competition? But even with Maxi's backing, Osaka knew she couldn't stay silent forever. And when she finally spoke, people weren't sure what to make of it. 2 days later, Naomi Osaka posted on Threads. It wasn't vague. It wasn't passive. She directly apologized to Victoria Moko. She explained that she had been trying not to repeat herself from a previous tournament speech, and in doing so, she had accidentally left out the congratulations. Moko responded with class. I understand. Emotions run high in matches like that. I'll always respect you. It was the kind of exchange that could have closed the book on this whole drama, but it didn't. Because Osaka's next move, that's what really caught people off guard. Not long after the apology, Osaka announced she was withdrawing from the Cincinnati Open. Her stated reason? To reset, refocus, and prepare for the US Open. To some, it was a smart move, avoiding burnout and putting all her energy into the season's biggest stage. To others, it looked like retreat. And whether intentional or not, it kept her name in the headlines just a little longer. But the conversation had shifted. Now, it wasn't just about Osaka, it was about tennis itself. Why does tennis hold its players to a higher standard than almost any other sport? In football, players walk straight to the locker room after a loss. In basketball, they sometimes skip the handshake entirely. Nobody writes front-page headlines about it. But in tennis, the rituals matter. The handshake, the acknowledgement, the speech, they're woven into the sport's identity. A reminder that it's not just about winning, but how you win and lose. That's why Osaka's omission hit so hard for some fans. It wasn't just about Moko, it was about tennis tradition itself. Rick Mossie's argument was simple. Judge a career by years of behavior, not one bad minute. And in that respect, Osaka's track record is hard to question. She's been a vocal advocate for mental health, a role model for young athletes, and a competitor who's brought millions of new fans to the sport. Which brings us to the real question. What happens next? For Naomi Osaka, the US Open is now a high-stakes proving ground. A deep run could flip the narrative and remind everyone why she's one of the most dangerous players in the game. For Victoria Moko, the Canadian Open was a statement. She's here, she's ready, and she can handle both the pressure of a huge win and the shadow of controversy. Her composure throughout this drama has only made her more likable, and while fans will eventually move on, this final will be remembered for two things: the day an 18-year-old beat her idol, and the silence that made more noise than any victory speech could. In tennis, as in life, sometimes it's not the score that defines you. It's how you handle what comes after. If you want more stories that go beyond the scoreboard, the drama, the emotion, and the truth behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button. Because in this sport, the next big story is always just one match away.